You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom, it's Rusty. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, where I move around really fast and as soon as I start the show. So thank you, everyone, for being here. It's on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. You can find it there. Search any of that stuff. You can watch it on YouTube or Rumble. Search the Public Access Podcast. Same with pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find this podcast. If you can't find this podcast, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. A simple Google, Yahoo, or I don't know. Well, there was something. I don't know, Metacrawler or something. Trying to go back and go for a third one, but Dog Pile, is that what I was thinking? Maybe that something like that. But anyway, thank you everyone for being here and listening or watching. So yeah, it's Tuesday morning, and it's time for the show. And I have a special guest right here and right now. And my special guest right here and right now is Elaine Lindsay. Welcome to the show, Elaine. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate being here as well.
All
Appreciate
right.
you inviting me.
Not a bad way to spend a Tuesday morning. It's always kind of nice. It's good to get on the calls early and do everything kind of
Absolutely.
early in the day. Um, I don't know. What do you go to bed? What time do you usually go to bed? It's interesting.
Midnight.
Oh, okay. You're up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I guess you're in Canada. You're up. Um, so you're up till midnight.
Yeah. Usually.
What goes on till midnight? Are you still working, or are you out at the hot nightclub dancing
Yeah.
the night away?
Not so much anymore. The dancing's a little challenging. Uh, the
Yeah.
thing is, I'm missing part of my leg, and it's not elegant anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
okay. It's okay.
well, there's
Doesn't mean sometimes I don't try, but
okay.
no, we kind of have an odd routine. We like to watch Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert.
Okay, that is good. It's good to be able to stay up and watch it before you go to bed. You can
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Need a
know
laugh
what
before I go to bed.
how much does that help? How much does having a laugh before bed help?
It's a great note to end the day on. If you can start the day on a laugh and end the day on a laugh, it's a pretty damn good day.
Yeah. How do you start the day on a laugh?
Usually, it's me trying to get out of bed and trying not to get attacked by two chihuahuas and trying to make it to the floor without tumbling over or doing something really silly. because we have stairs for chihuahuas all over our house.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Obstacles that,
It's my little obstacle course. They're right at the edge of the bed, but
yeah,
on my side. So it means it's kind of, there's a lot of weaving going on. And with my instability, it's kind of Keystone Cops.
yeah. Are they wearing like collars? Like do they have jinglies
No,
going on? You take them
no.
off.
They don't, they have harnesses when they go OUT.
Okay.
Can't say it because they're in the room. But yeah, other than that, they don't. They have very small trachea, so
Okay.
collars are yeah. If you really
Yeah.
like your dogs, you won't put collars on any of the tiny dogs.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah. Plus, you don't want it jingling around when you're in bed.
Oh
You
my
don't want to
God, yeah,
hear ding, ding, ding,
yeah,
ding, 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 ding.
that drive me
Uh,
crazy.
yeah. They start, like if they're scratching their ear or something, that's when, like,
Yeah,
okay, well, yep, I hear you. I don't know. There's been, I've been trying to figure out some of that stuff with animals, how to make it easier. Um, One of the things that had a cat, that would at 5 in the morning, um, like be meowing at the door
oh
for food.
yeah,
And, I was like, nope, nope. So then I looked up, like a feeder, like a timer feeder,
oh yeah, yeah.
and then put that for about 4 in the morning, 4:30, and took care of
Excellent.
that. Yeah. Had to, yeah, and almost got, I tried toilet training cats for a little bit. Um, it was it went okay. It went okay. It could have gone better if there was only one in the cats, but,
Yeah, if
uh,
there's more than one, I think it's probably an awful lot harder.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know, I thought about trying it again, but I don't think it's worth it. But it was odd. It was odd seeing, a
Yeah,
cat sitting on the toilet.
be odd for your guests.
Right.
You you have people over for dinner, they're trying to go into the bathroom and, oh, sorry, cat's in there.
Yeah, cats in the bathroom can't come in, too bad. You have to wait your turn, and, yeah, I don't know, it's nice to be able to figure out some, things to make life a little
Easier.
easier sometimes, yeah. Uh, I don't know, what's a good thing you've found out, something to do easier? That's a bad way to phrase it.
Yeah. You mean
'Cause,
with the dogs?
with anything in life,
Oh, with anything in life? Well,
with that yeah, it can be about
yeah,
dogs if you like.
I have had to, because of some of the challenges, partly my leg and other things, I do have to sort of tweak things so life is a little bit easier for me. Um, I I find well, I moved to a bungalow. It only has 3 stairs down to the back door to let the dogs out, which is way better because our old house had like a big staircase.
Oh, whoa.
And I am not good on stairs. Okay, it's like one at a time. Too many
Sure.
stairs and it's just not worth it. So I made my life simple and we moved to a bungalow.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
That's a real good call. Um, was it easier going or is it easier going up or downstairs?
It's actually easier going up.
A
Okay.
lot more
Down in
stability.
more stability, but also I have, like, I don't like heights, so I kind of have a bit of vertigo. So when you're
Okay.
looking down and a taller staircase or an escalator, oh my God. Like if you go to a mall, I could be an entertainment piece for people in a mall, because me getting on an escalator to go down
Yeah.
takes forever.
So
So I just figure I'm going down head first. So, there's so much hesitation. It's kind of silly.
you ever go for the elevator there, or do
Oh
you
yeah,
do you
if
make
there's
do
an
you make yourself?
elevator, yeah,
Okay,
I'll definitely take the elevator.
Sarah, or do you make yourself take the escalator?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's going downstairs was difficult for a while, and yeah, going up was definitely, I felt a lot easier. Same
Yeah.
with, yeah, I don't know. Yesterday I climbed not yesterday, Sunday I climbed a bunch of stairs, and it was too many. Uh, I think I have a limit of how many I can do right now.
Well, I know I do. I don't have any kneecaps. I don't have any cartilage in either leg,
Oh,
as
well,
well as being missing half the left leg vertically.
can I ask what
Oh,
happened or how that?
yeah. When I was 20 years old, I was crushed between 3 cars on a highway. Um, a,
Whoa.
a policeman had stopped me because the dimmer switch on my car had shorted out. So I was driving with no lights. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. When I got to this curve in the highway, policeman stopped me. I explained why I had no lights. It was actually a policeman at a different police station that told me to drive home that way. I had gone to pick somebody up who'd been picked up for drinking and driving. This was 1976. It was March the 20th. It was just after 2 in the morning. It was minus 30 Fahrenheit. There was no visibility. There were no lights on the curve. It was just outside of town on Highway 31, which was kind of dark and not really well finished. The interesting thing is, it happened right in front of my friend's grave. 4 years before, I lost a dear friend to suicide, and she was buried right there. And it was really odd because that's the first thing I thought when the policeman stopped me. I kind of looked over and thought, oh, Andrea's right there. But we couldn't get off the highway because the snowbanks were way too high. I live in the second coldest capital in the world, and we get a ton of snow. So it wasn't exactly a great night. The weather was horrible. And this young man, I guess he was on his way home also from the drunk tank. The policeman, when he stopped the car, I said, look, it's your fault. He said, start the car. Like, you got to turn your lights on. You can't drive like this. And I explained why. And he said, well, try them now. So I did, and my car stalled. I said, well, you stalled it, so you start it. Like, get some booster cables. He said, I don't have any. Well, Ahmed Sunoco's just around the corner. Go get some. Like, you stalled my car. So he comes back, and when he comes back, he tells me that he doesn't know how to use booster cables. And we're not talking a rookie. He was a 49-year-old man. And I'm not at the best of times a patient person, but I was almost 7 months pregnant. So I was cold. I had to pee. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't want to muck about. So I said, fine, okay, just get between the cars. So I was almost in the right-hand lane in between my car and his car. The hoods are up like this. I'm barely 5'2". He's 6 feet. He was on the side closest to the snowbank. I was showing him how to put the booster cable on. And I guess he saw the lights hit the curve, and he dove into the snowbank, and nothing happened to him. And when the car hit my car, it hit me, which hit the police car. And when the cars separated, I went up and ass over tea kettle through the air and landed 2 lanes over on the highway. Part of my leg did not. unfortunately, the engine of my beautiful Mustang took my leg from my calf all the way up my thigh, part of my femur, and all of everything on one side. Lucky for me, it was -30 because it was slowing the bleeding because I was literally freezing. My shoulder was dislocated. My arm stuck up in the air like this. I'm lying on the ground. I guess I'd passed in and out because I remember asking somebody to knock me out. Back then, there were no cell phones. There wasn't even a phone booth. The young man that hit my car, he ran up to this restaurant that was about a half mile down the road and woke the people up so they could call an ambulance. Ambulances were just ambulance drivers in those days. There weren't paramedics. So when they got to the scene, they didn't think I was going to make it to the hospital. There was so much blood, and my left leg was almost on my shoulder. It was so broken, and the other leg was kind of going the other way. And you'll appreciate this. I tend to find the funny in everything. I was trying to see my car, okay, because of how I landed backwards. And I know this is a little out there, but I believe Andrea put the hood up on my fur coat because my head should have split like a melon. Okay, that was solid frozen highway. And I hit hard. I had a slight fracture at the back of my skull. My legs were broken in 16 places. I had massive internal injuries. And lying on that highway, I just kept asking, was my car okay? Like I was just worried about the car, which is crazy. So they kept trying to put the hood up so I couldn't see because my car was not only not okay, my car was probably, I don't know, 8 feet long. My Mustang had crumpled like a little toy. My husband was a finishing cabinet maker, and he had a 350-pound toolbox in the trunk of the Mustang, which ended up on the dash. Like that's how smashed it was. The only good thing is the friend of ours that I had picked up was drunk. And so he slid into the foot area of the passenger's side, and he wasn't hurt. The only person that was hurt was me. And I'm lying on the road with my arm up in the air, and I'm saying, like, somebody knock me out, like, please. And this woman came from, I don't know where. There were people, and she kept saying, hang on, the ambulance is coming, and you're going to be okay. And she's holding my hand, the hand that's up in the air. And as she's squeezing my hand, she's squeezing the shoulder that is completely dislocated. So at one point, I remember saying, oh, lady, let go of my fucking hand. And the person that was in my car says, oh, Elaine, don't swear. And I'm lying on the road thinking, this can't be happening. Okay, this has got to be some kind of weird dream. Because who cares if I'm swearing? Okay, I didn't know that my leg was wide open. I just felt like I had the biggest blister in the world because it was raw and it burned. And the ambulance drivers they had to use a 2x4 to put between my leg to try and get me on the stretcher because they had to kind of bring my legs back to some semblance of where they belonged. And it was a long time. I almost had frostbite on 2 of my toes because getting dressed in the middle of the night, I just threw on some clogs. I didn't even have socks on. I just figured I was going out. I was picking up someone who was stupid. I was going to drive them home, and that was it. And yeah, that was not it. So the next 5 years was spent in and out of hospital. I spent the first few months they had to do a lot of what they call debridement because my leg was dying, and they had to get rid of all the crap in that big hole. I didn't know about the hole for the first 5 weeks. It was like every week they'd come and tell me. The first week they told me that they had taken the baby. The second week they told me that I had some serious internal damage, and it was just week after week with something new. And every day they came in and they would roll the bed flat. I had casts on my legs and my shoulder was attached to me. So I couldn't move very well on my own at all. And they would come in every day, flatten the bed, because they had cut like a window in the cast on my left leg. This big window thing. I could see it, but I couldn't open it. And so they would lie me flat and then they'd open this and they'd work in there every day. I had no idea what they were doing. But there started to be this smell that was driving me crazy. I didn't know what it was. Decomp, because your body will die when it's left open like that. And about the 5th week, the nurse came in to do her thing, and she laid out her tray and everything on the bed like usual, but she got a call to go down the hall. Somebody else needed her, and she hadn't rolled my bed down. So I was sitting up and I could reach the big thing that she'd taken the I don't know what it was, tape or whatever they closed it with. And so as soon as she walked out of the room, I opened it. And that's the last thing I remember for 3 days. I just left the building. Mentally, I ran a terrible fever because I looked in there and there was no leg. There was this pulpy looking thing that I didn't think belonged to me. And it was one of the most horrific things I'd ever gone through, because, girls can be very lacking self-esteem and being, ridiculous. This is the word now. And I really believed at that point that I was nothing but big blue eyes and long, long legs. Granted, I was 5'2", but I did have very long legs. And for me, that was the end. What was I now? I was just big blue eyes. And it just wreaked havoc with my mental state.
What happened then
So,
with that? How'd that work through?
When they let me out of the hospital, that was March. They let me out of the hospital at the end of June, beginning of July. I only got to go home for 3 weeks because I was having more surgery. But going home, I was home for a week, and my husband said, "Come on, we're going to go do groceries." And it took us more than half an hour to get me. We lived in a 3-story townhouse. So we had to go up 1 story to get to anything. And they had put a bed and everything on the main floor for me. So that was at least good. And our daughter was just going on 2 at the time. And we went to Billingsbridge Plaza, which is where we did our groceries. And my husband had rented a wheelchair, and he put me in the wheelchair. And I don't think we were in the grocery store 2 minutes. And I was just like, "Get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here. I want to go home." I could not stand the looks of pity that people were giving me. And in my mind, I don't think anybody actually cared. They were doing their groceries. Nobody was focused on me. But when you are in that mindset, that's really what you think. And I went home and I started trying to walk. I broke my nose. I think in total, in the next month and a half, I must have dislocated or broken my nose about 5 times. I was bound and determined there was no way I was sitting in some chair. Not happening. It's about the only time that vanity is really useful, because it forced me to push myself to get better. The next 5 years was all different surgeries, and they took one kneecap, and then they'd take the other, and back then they put you in a full cast, like from ankle to hip, for every little thing they did, and it would be 6 to 8 weeks, but they were working on both legs. So I'd see somebody and we'd talk, and then I'd see them a month later and they go, didn't you have, I was sure the cast was on the other leg. No. Got away with that for a few years. But by the end of 5 years, I had a cast put on with a lift in it so that it would match my wedgie shoe, because I was going to a wedding with friends, not realizing putting that wedge in meant I had to wear those damn wedge shoes for the whole 6 weeks I had that cast on.
Whoa.
Because all my other shoes weren't that high. And you can't really carry a purse, okay, when you're already unstable. My shoulder I wasn't really good with crutches because of my shoulder. And depending on the leg, I think my right leg, I was a little better walking than my left. So you have to kind of do things to get around this. And the top of my cast became my wallet. I used to stuff my money down the top of my cast. And that was all well and good until one time, the guy who used to take off the casts, his name was Red, and he'd taken, like double digits number of casts off me over time. And he was taking a cast off at one point, and he looked at me and he said, so finders keepers, right? And I didn't know what he was talking about. It's like, what? It was finders keepers, right? I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. And he pulled out a $10 bill from my thigh. It's like, yeah, no, that's mine.
I was going to ask you if it was a bill or a toonie or a loony.
It was $10 bill.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we didn't have toonies or loonies back then, because that would have made the cast really heavy. I mean, It was heavy enough. Very heavy when you fall in the water, when you're fishing. Very, very heavy, very dangerous. Don't do that.
Yeah.
There were a few little mishaps, and one way to really improve your mobility and get your flexing, your bending of your knee back, is to get your cast off and then go home with a friend on their motorcycle. You have to bend your leg or you're just not going to make it.
Yeah.
I was young and a little crazy back then.
And now, has that changed?
I'm old, but yes, still crazy.
Okay, that's good. It's a lot. That's I mean, so like what were you doing kind of everything different after that? Did everything kind of have to change? And then did that, like with your having to process it, was that, I mean, that probably took years, probably still.
Yeah, it did. But here's the thing, Rusty, okay? That's not the bad trauma in my life.
Okay.
That losing Andrea was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, because what no one knew was I had had suicidal ideation since I was a kid. I didn't even learn that term until a couple of years ago. So I didn't know what it was. But when she took her own life, it brought it into very sharp focus. And I had been a volunteer at an asylum since I was 12 years old. And I actually worked there when I was 15. I lived on campus for the summer. And I ended up a friend that when I went to school with, I would take the bus with him every day. He was in a home for wayward boys, and they actually put him in the asylum the last time he ran away because they didn't know what else to do with him. And I saw him a week after I got there to work and said, oh, wow, they had to get a special thing because I'm only 15. Like, how did they let you work here? He said, I don't work here. I live here. And within that summer, he changed completely because when you put a group of humans together, we don't rise to the highest level. We all kind of sink to meet everyone else where they are. And I could not have articulated that at 15 years old. What that showed me was I had to keep the stupid thoughts in my head. I didn't dare tell people what I was thinking because they'd lock me away. And that was a very real possibility in my day. You know, we even had songs about the funny farm. I mean, it was a very different time. But trying to deal with what had happened and, you know, not thinking I was not valuable anymore, I ended up ruining my marriage. I left. I was a figure skater. I rode horses. I rode my bike every day. And for a long time, I rode horses every day. I skied. We had beautiful ski hills around us. And I was always doing something. So after the accident, all of that was no longer possible. Just learning to walk again took a long time. And, you know, stairs are still a big challenge for me. So I started putting on weight, and I really believed it was just me, you know, stupid me. I couldn't handle this, and just one of those things. But I have a weird dichotomy. Part of me is Pollyanna, and I play the glad game every day. And the other part of me was fatalistic and had this suicidal ideation. And those two pieces of me were constantly in a fight. It was always, you know, the yin and yang of these polar opposites. So life wasn't all bad. Okay. By 1980, well, 1979, my parents came back to Canada. They had been in England for 4 years. They left just after my accident. And in 1980, I had met someone in 79. And in 1980, we got married. In 1982, we had a little boy. By then, I was bound and determined that I could not live like this. I hated me. I was overweight. I absolutely hated me. It made me, between the pain, and at this point, there were enough pharmaceutical drugs to try and keep the pain at bay. And I thought the pain was bad then. I decided, I saw a show on TV and I heard about stomach stapling. And I thought this would be the answer if I could do this. And when I told my family, every single one of them said, no, 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 no. You've had enough surgery for 10 people. Like, no, this is not happening. But I'm a very determined person. And I decided this was what I needed to do. And I jumped through all the hoops. I went through the psychological testing. I did everything you have to do to get on the list for this. But in 1983, it was called a vertical banded gastroplasty. It had only been in use for a year. And there was only one doctor in this city that was doing it. I don't know, I think there might have been 5 in all of Canada. What we didn't know, he was being investigated because out of a cohort of 37, which included me, he'd already killed 2 people. There were problems. The problems weren't so much with the surgery as with the surgeon. And in August of 83, I had achieved a level of management in a company out of California that I worked with, and we went to convention in Vegas. I had already dropped 25 pounds, so they were very happy with me coming in. As soon as I came back from Vegas, I was going in to have this surgery, and that's exactly what I did. I was going to be off work for 3 weeks. I had to feed through a tube in my side for 3 weeks, and I could have nothing by mouth. I couldn't drink or eat anything in order to let what they were going to do heal. And I was good with that. So I went in on the 12th of September, and the next morning I was to go for surgery. And we'll never know what actually happened, because 12 years later in court, we learned there were 3 OR reports for that first surgery. Something happened. I don't know if he held the machine wrong or what he did, but instead of 2 holes that would back each other on either side of the stomach, that's what they did back then. One of the holes wasn't circular, it was oval, and there was a leak. And rather than test, I don't know, he was very full of himself. He just closed me up and they sent me to a room. And every day the resident would come and check. They never told me what happened. They didn't tell me there was a problem. There was none of that. And that whole week, I started developing a pain in my left shoulder blade. But I didn't want to whine or complain because my family, they were already not happy that I had done this. I was going to be stoic and I was going to go home and just take care of this. And in 3 weeks, everybody would be happy and I could go on with my life. So the week was up. They let me go home on one condition, that I promised to come back. I think it was Saturday morning they let me out. I would promise to come back Tuesday morning for a test to check that everything was working right. And I did. But I went home with nothing for pain, which was stupid, but I was thinking, I guess I was doing penance because my family wasn't happy. Well, I'll just grin and bear it, and then they'll be better. Who knows? Silly 20-something-year-old. And we went home. I lasted 17 hours at home. By the end of 17 hours, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't lie down. The agony in my shoulder was just unrelenting. And my husband had to call the hospital to see what we should do, because I fed through a tube in my side, which meant if they were going to give me something for pain, it had to go through that tube. So I would have to get a prescription. But you have to remember, this is an experimental surgery that nobody does except the one doctor. So even going to Emerge, they didn't know what to do. They had no idea what was wrong. He checked me out and I had a fever and I had this pain and he wasn't sure what it was, but he wrote a prescription, gave it to my husband. He gave me a shot to ease the pain right then and there. And he said, okay, you can go ahead and get dressed and go home. Your husband can pick up that prescription tomorrow. And as he walked away to close the curtain so I could get changed, the resident from my surgery came walking through the emergency. I didn't even see him. He saw me, and my husband saw him. And my husband said, I didn't know what was wrong. All I knew was something was terribly, terribly wrong. And he said, I just had this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. The resident immediately went to the doctor that was working on me. And then the next thing I know, he's in the cubicle with me asking questions. Like, why are you here? How are you feeling? Where is this pain? And as he kind of, quick fired questions at me, I thought, no. He gave me pills. I'm going home. Okay. Like, I don't want to stay here. And I'd had enough of hospitals by that point. And I was sure I could just fix this going home. The next thing I know, they are calling in the head of the x-ray department, and they're setting up some big test. And like lots of people are coming around and telling my husband that he should go home because I'm not leaving. And they would contact him. Like, what do you mean? He said, no, we're taking her. You need to go. It's like, okay. So that next morning at 7:00, I guess they called my husband and told him that they were taking me back into surgery. There was a problem. They had found a gastric leak and they were going to go repair it. Now, in 1983, you weren't supposed to question doctors. They were the ones that knew everything. You just lay there and we're supposed to be quiet. I'm not really good at that. So I was kind of annoyed. I wanted to know, well, what happened? What's going on? And the only thing that the doctor said when he came in that morning, he said, well, come on, fess up. You ate or drank something. And I said, are you kidding me? I've gone against my entire family. I jumped through every hoop you gave me to prepare for this. Why in the name of God would I do that? I had to set up a housekeeper to come in and look after my daughter. We had, our whole lives were upended. And I kept thinking, like, why would he say that? He was gaslighting me. He was trying to move the focus from what he'd done. Didn't learn that for a long time either. Second operation, there's only 2 OR reports. They say such different things. And I only know that because we had to go to court. We don't know what he did. We know what he didn't do. He didn't take it apart far enough to actually repair the leak. There's stuff in our body that's kind of like, I'm going to say it's kind of like a stretchy glue. It's called omentum. I'm now a doctor, I swear. But the omentum, you can use it when you're operating on people. You wrap it around when you're finished. It just gives you, a little bit of protection from where you've put stitches or staples or whatever. And it can be useful for letting things heal. Because he didn't take it down far enough, he didn't actually get to where the leak was. So he had wrapped it in omentum, definitely. That now became this infected pouch that just kept percolating. So I came out of the second surgery, which was a week after the first, and they put me in a cancer ward. Four beds in the room. The other 3 people died within 4 days. Not what you want to be surrounded with when you're 27 years old and you're not sure what the hell is going on. It was now September 28th. It was about 6:00 in the morning. And suddenly the resident and 3 other young doctors were in my room, and they took me. Oh, sorry, I left out one thing. 3 days after that second surgery, I guess I was having a little trouble breathing. And the next thing I know, they are inserting a chest tube in my side and putting me on a chest machine, something to keep your lungs inflated. And as we're going down the hall with this thing, the nurse is telling me that you can't drop it lower than your heart. And it was just the scariest. They never thought, like, they don't think of patients as people. You're just this meat suit that they're working on. And they weren't taking the time to realize that Every time they jabbed me, I felt it. Every time they took in or put in or took out another drain, I felt it. And it wasn't something that any of them thought of at that point. So September 28th, they've come into the room. They take me for something called a gastrographin swallow. I don't know what that is. I know I will never forget it, and no one will ever put that in my mouth again. It was the most vile. I can still taste it. Like, it was so bad. It was like, I don't know, like some kind of gasoline and petroleum and just bizarre. But they needed to use that to figure out, was there still a leak? Sometime between the chest tube being inserted and that morning, the pouch that had been created burst open, and I developed peritonitis, and I was going septic. So the head, Dr. Sapala, who was the head of X-ray, said, we have to get you to surgery. You have to go back to surgery now. And I said, yeah, no, sorry. Had your chance. I'm done. Okay, we're not going there. He said, Elaine, you'll be dead before dinner. You have to do this. And I said, no. He said, well, we're just going to call your family. I said, don't. And I got a nurse to bring me a phone. And I called my husband and I called my father. And I said, don't you dare say okay to this surgery. I'll kill you both. And one or both of them said okay to the surgery because they didn't have a choice. I went into the surgery, and this is where it gets a little confusing because my heart stopped. And I believe now, based on everything we know, he thought that was his chance to cover his tracks. So he took everything apart. I no longer had my stomach stapled. While the residents were trying to restart my heart, he was emptying the body of any evidence of what he'd done. Unfortunately for him, they got my heart restarted. And he had to, I guess, rethink his position. And I don't know what he did then. I still don't know. There's 3 reports and then none of them make any sense. And at that point, I stopped breathing. So again, I think he thought he was going to be okay. He could just, finish this off. But they cut me open 3 times in 3 weeks. They'd made such a mess inside, and him pulling everything apart made all the tissue what they call friable. So you couldn't stitch me back together because the skin wouldn't stay, the organ, nothing would stay. You put a stitch in and just come through. So they were going to have to pack me and leave me open, like from here all the way down. They did get me breathing again. And at that point, he decided he'd better not just cover his tracks. He'd better do something that's going to save him if I actually make it off this table. So he called in a thoracic surgeon, and he had him divert my esophagus out my neck. So I had a new hole here. It was only about the size of the end of my finger. But I woke up on the way to ICU about 5 hours later. In ICU, where I was for 11 days, I was packed open. They had to put a cage so that the sheet couldn't touch me because everything was open and you don't want anything to get infected. And this hole in my neck was bubbling. Sorry, this will be gross, but saliva was eating my skin on my chest. And I was blistering because I don't know if I never thought about it before, but saliva is like battery acid. Okay, if you leave it on your skin, it makes it blister, it makes it red, it's uncomfortable and causes a lot of pain over time. When I woke in that the ICU room, there's all these things on the wall, and they had all these tubes and everything plugged into the wall. But there were so many things coming out of me. They had what they call Jackson Pratt drains. They look like hand grenades, and they're attached to the bed or in me. And then there were bigger tubes coming out of me, and they had to get what they call gravity suction, that bottles standing on the floor, because there weren't enough pieces on the wall to be able to attach them to. There were so many things coming out of me. Well, in true me form, on the right-hand side, we're not quite sure where that hose went to, but there was a fairly substantial hose coming out of me, and it went to like a bag. And I called him Hugo, because you go where I go. And he stuck around for 7 months. So he had to have a name. This here just continued to bubble and squeak. It was pretty bizarre. They tried hooking me up to the wall with like an air thing, but it wasn't taking away enough of the issue. And the ones on the other side, I still had the tube in my side that I fed through. The cafeteria didn't seem to understand that when you feed through a little tube, a strawberry milkshake made with fresh strawberries is not a good idea. And every time a strawberry pit would get stuck in that tube, they'd have to cut me open again and put in a new tube. That got to be more than just annoying. It was really painful. They finally took me up to a room after the 11 days. And the nurses, by this point, felt really bad, because we're now, almost through October. And I've been there since the beginning of September. And there's all these, I'm like Dr. Octopus in the Spider-Man movies, all these things coming out of me. And it was quite a while. I just wanted to leave. I just wanted to be gone. No more of this. I can't do it anymore. And one nurse came in one night and she said, as soon as all the patient visitors are gone, we have a surprise for you. Oh, okay. And I was not a happy camper. Okay. I was a pretty nasty kid in my 20s, because pain makes you a little crazy. And I already had all this pain from my legs and all the other stuff that was wrong with me. So I wasn't the nicest person on the block. But I thought it was nice that they were going to give me a surprise. And when everybody left, they came into the room and they brought all the towels that had been used during the day. Some of them were just a mess. I said, okay, we're going to give you a popsicle. It's like, what? Oh my God. Says, we're going to put the towels around your neck and we'll just clean it up after, because it'll come out the hole in your neck. But my lips were cut. My mouth inside was cut from being so dry. Yes, you get glycerin swabs, but they're gross. And even though I'm getting sustenance, I'm getting water through that tube, that's a long time to go being told you can't have anything by mouth. So that started the popsicle era. I couldn't wait for my guests to leave when people would come visit me. It's like, oh, is it 8 o'clock yet? Come on, is it 8 o'clock? Nice to see you. Here's your hat. What's your hurry? Bye-bye. And it became a ritual. But by the second week, the popsicles and the saliva didn't really make it better on my skin. And it was really bad. And the blisters and everything were really, really sore. So one of the nurses said, I have an idea. We're going to call the stoma therapist. I didn't even know what that was. They're the people that do colostomies for people who
Okay.
handle the colostomy bags and how you manage when you lose a part of your intestine. Now, I don't know where she got the idea, but it was a good one. She brought the stoma therapist in and she taught me how to use a colostomy bag on my neck. And we would apply it because then the saliva would go into the bag. And so would the popsicle stuff. And we could empty the bag so that there was nothing on my skin. And it only lasted sometimes 2.5, 3 days, but it gave my skin a break. And we would just reapply one and start over again, which was great. And that went on for a few weeks and I was thrilled. But there is one little problem with us humans. Our bodies try very hard to heal themselves, no matter what happens. So my neck was trying to put itself back together. And Hugo, I was nice enough to name him, bastard, he got me in trouble because he ratted on me for the popsicles. Every morning, the nurses would take all the towels that we'd stolen and they'd be like weird blue and purple and, you know, the colors would all blend and they looked weird. And I bet the laundry had no idea what was going on. And once they put the bag on my neck, we had a lot less towels. Things were pretty good. But Hugo one morning had some blue in him, some like greeny blue. And the doctor was not amused. I now know for him, that was a bonus because he could say I did everything. It was my fault. That's what he tried to do.
Wow.
And it was interesting to know that our bodies are that hell-bent on healing. It's a wonderful thing to find out. I'll tell you, it took me like 30 years to put it together because I was in a pretty bad place mentally. I wanted to leave all the time. I was in a ridiculous amount of pain. And after a year, that doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. It's in your head. It's like, it's in a lot of places, but my head ain't one of them. And I had the thoracic surgeon put my neck back together about 7 months later. But when you leave a tube, you know, whether it's to your lungs or to your stomach or to wherever, scar tissue builds up around it. And I ended up with, I have a pouch in my neck. They had to go in and do what they call dilatations for a whole year. They would, it's like great big bullets. They put them down your throat. They put you to sleep and they put the bullets down your throat to try and stretch it out. And week after week, they do bigger and bigger ones to try and make it so that you can eat. It was a year after my surgery. I went with my friends. We went with the kids to McDonald's, and it took me almost 2 hours to eat a single chicken nugget. And we were all so excited that I could eat it. Unfortunately, it took so long and it was so hard. For the next more than 10 years, I lived on onshore, which is a protein.
Yeah, like a shake.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The sad thing about that, if you live on nothing but onshore, you know you can put on 25 pounds a year.
It's a lot of sugar.
It is. It really is. And also, if you don't know that you don't actually have your stomach stapled, the weight will come back. Okay, for 7.5 months, I was dying. So yes, I lost an awful lot of weight, but eventually it would come back when I was eventually able to start eating again. And that's exactly what happened. So I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I didn't understand because I didn't know that my stomach wasn't stapled. So here I thought, oh my God, I failed at something else. How is that possible? And by that point, the pain was so intense. There was so much more pain in so many more places that I was now on an absolutely ridiculous amount of narcotics. I was on more morphine than an entire football team. And I had things like Demerol and Tuinol and Tolwyn and other things for breakthrough pain in the hundreds of milligrams, not a few, hundreds. And that became just my reality. And I was, for all intents and purposes, I would start to do something, I would try a different career, I would get into something, and something inside would go wrong. And I'd end up back in the hospital and have to have surgery and then have to get better. And, it was just this endless cycle. And eventually I just didn't want to try anymore. There was just no point. If it wasn't for Andrea taking her life, she gave me the most incredible gift. And I call it the best, worst gift you can ever get, but she left me knowing what it felt like to be left behind. I knew exactly the questions and the constant berating yourself and wondering, what could I have done? What did I miss? And she was always in my ear when I got really close. And there were a lot of really close. But she'd be there saying, like, really, are you going to do that? You know how you felt. You didn't like it. Are you really going to do that to the kids? To your husband? Like, this is crazy. What about the family? And it was always enough that Pollyanna would win and I would go on. Everything wasn't, excuse me, it wasn't all boo-hoo and horror. Okay, I have 2 beautiful children, and we now have 5 grandkids, and my husband and I are going on 44 years of marriage, and we're pretty well settled. The unfortunate thing is what they did to me is not settled. And in 1996, I had to be tested for AIDS and for HIV and Hep C, and I ended up with hepatitis C. Since been treated for that, and I no longer have hepatitis C as of 2016, which is great. But in 1997, my daughter was down visiting. She lived about 8 hours away with our first grandchild, and she was 3 or 4. My son was heading off to cadets, and we went for an early dinner. Coming out of the restaurant, we're walking through the parking lot, and there's a car that's backing up, but he's looking the other way. So I knocked on his trunk just to say, we're behind you. We were walking by. And the next thing I know, this giant man is out of his car and he's screaming, "You effing bitch. What's wrong with you people? Can't you wait?" And he's just like foaming at the mouth. It was crazy. And my daughter turned around and said, "Get lost. There's a child here. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?" I said, "You're mental. Go away." And we kept walking to our car. My daughter went up one side of the car. The rest of it is a total jumble because my daughter screamed and I looked up. He had driven up the aisle, turned his car in, and tried to run into my children. I stepped in the way because I'm a mother. And of course, he hit my legs. I ended up on the hood of his car. And as he backed out because he was going to leave, people gathered around his car trying to make him stop. And at some point, I slid to the ground off the hood of his car. People called the police, and my doctor happened to be in that plaza. So somebody went and got him. And my daughter said they could hear him coming down the pathway from the plaza saying, "Oh my God, tell me it's not her legs. Tell me they didn't hit her legs." Because, I'm already not in great shape. Anyway, I had said I'd put weight back on. So here I am lying on the frozen ground. It's snowing, it's winter. The ambulance comes with the paramedics. And I am so concerned about the fact that I am overweight and how are these poor people going to pick me up. I struggle to fight my way onto the gurney. The paramedics are fighting with me. And all of a sudden, as I get in the ambulance, it's like this big aha moment. Okay. It's like nothing else existed. And I'm in the ambulance, and in my head, it's like, holy Christ, there has to be more to life than this. It can't just be shit. Like there has to be more.
Right.
This can't be all we have. Why this? And it's like this. And I suddenly go, oh my God, I'm the common denominator. I have something to do with this. And then it's like, what the fuck? What on earth? And that moment, it was like, oh my God, okay, that big, huge man is the best damn thing that happened to me, because I was forced to look at it all. And I went home and started researching, and I read the 4 agreements and the 9th insight, and I was watching Oprah and anything I could get to that talked about, this other world energy and how we work. And, I'm the captain of this damn ship. I need to take onus for what this ship does. And it's my right. We're not put here to suffer. Okay. And I guess my soul wanted one of the big rides. Come to the park, you can have the teacups or you can have the big roller coaster. Give me the roller coasters every day. That's definitely my thing. And that was the beginning for me of this journey to living my life and realizing, oh my God, for 30 years I was a victim. Okay, that's nothing. That's not what you want to be. It's not what you want to do. I was not a nice person. It was get them before they get you. I always made a point of joking about my missing leg, called myself a gimp, that you too can get great parking, just lose part of your leg. I'm just like horrible stuff. And I used to say, I'm here for a long time because God doesn't want me and the devil's afraid I'm after his job. That's how I would introduce myself to people. And, looking back, it's like, oh my God. In 2001, a friend of mine came and said, there's somebody you have to meet. You have to meet this person. Okay, she could change your life. And something about that terrified me. And I just backed off for 3 years. 2004, I finally agreed to see this person. And I was so afraid because I knew she was going to see this black soul that I was. Because I really thought the devil was a child. I was the monster in the world. And when I went to see her, one of the first things she said was, oh, you're pretty funny. Yeah, you think you're just this black hat? No, you're a white hat. You got a little black brim, that's all. I thought, oh my God, like, how do you know? Anyway, my son called her the holistic missile. And she is my spiritual mentor, has been since 2004. She has now retired, but we still talk. And from 2004 on, I learned to meditate. I learned to do visualizations. I learned to handle the pain in the best way possible for me. And in 2001, I was getting out of my car. I was going to a movie with a friend, and I fell 18 inches. My cane got caught in my pant leg. I just went forward. I hit my nose and my mouth on the wheel well of the car next door, and my arm shattered in tons of pieces. And we didn't realize at the time, but from the surgery, even if your stomach is only stapled for 3 weeks, that changes into the most complicated area of your body. And I will say, we know for a fact he cut my vagus nerve. Doing that, okay, left me in a position to kind of get every complication known to man and then some. So when I got to the hospital, and after they put me in they had to get a prosthetic for 5 months. I was in a prosthetic sleeve, and then they gave me a titanium rod instead of a humerus. So in 2009, I also got a half joint on my left leg, because they can't put in a full one because there's not a full joint. So I'm bionic. That's another piece, good piece. That was 2001. They found out that I actually have osteoporosis, and it's pretty bad. And that comes from the stomach stapling left me with malabsorption and malnutrition. And because even though I can eat some things, it is not processed the way you process it. All of that, by 2003, for Christmas, I got diabetes, and I am now insulin dependent. They need to work on the Christmas gifts, because, yeah, not the best in my estimation. And the last two, by 2016, I got cirrhosis, which I thought was kind of odd. I don't drink. I can't. I haven't had a glass of wine since 1983, which is really annoying. That's one of the most annoying little side things that go with this. The tube in my side. What?
Is that the hepatitis? Hepatitis
No,
C that did
no.
that?
The cirrhosis actually it came from the stomach surgery, but cirrhosis is often from too much drinking.
Right.
And yeah, there wasn't any of that. But some of, I guess, the remnants of what it leaves or what it takes away ends up breaking down other organs over time. And just in the fall last year, I found out that I now have chronic pancreatitis. And I'm hoping that's the last one. I don't think I need any more. I'm starting to feel incredibly greedy. Like, I'm getting all the gifts. Oh, sorry, I missed one. I have a mitral valve disease. I have a heart condition that they didn't realize until 2016. So that was, I guess, a bonus in a way, because now they know that it's there.
And the stocking.
All of these things to say, I am very grateful for my life. I am most grateful for finally getting my shit together. And in 2018, 2019, I dropped 70 pounds. I come to understand sort of the mechanics of how to deal with my body and with everything to do with the pain and what have you. And I've always said I'm a functional junkie. Well, in 2019, I started weaning off the narcotics. And I thought I would be able to get off completely. That's not actually true. I take one long-acting morphine. It's only 15 milligrams, and I take it every evening. And that's the only thing. You have to fight me to make me take an Advil now. It just nothing. And that is such an incredible gift to be able to be present, to really know what's going on. And most of all, when you're nicer, everybody else around you seems nicer.
Yeah. And it's hard being in that spot where you're hurting all the time and you're on the pain pills, and then you can get real fucking short with people.
Oh my
When
God, yeah.
and it's people you're around all the time that aren't doing shit, and it's just like, I'm sorry. And yeah, getting off that shit was like some of the best.
Oh,
Like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, I ended up smoking weed, and that's what got me off of it. And like
yeah, I never smoked.
it,
I never
and
smoked. No,
yeah,
not,
you got
I don't like
what
the
worked.
smell. I cannot handle that smell. Like
Yeah,
even going by a cannabis shop or something, I just, oh, it turns my stomach. It's a horrible, horrible smell. And
understandable.
I suppose that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
need any more addictions.
no, and I mean, and it's fucking great getting off. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, where you're not. I mean, so I had a thing like I would be waking up. I'd wake up at like 4 o'clock because that's when everything would wear off.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's 4 o'clock. I'm up, like
Oh yeah.
fucking ready to go. Like, where's that first bit of pain relief? And it sucks. Like, I'm happy for you that you're at that spot, and that you're able to have that different outlook and be able to
Yeah.
figure out that that you're controlling the ship. And like that's something that was yeah, would have been great to have learned 30, 40 years
Oh
earlier,
yeah.
or
It's like
but
talk about a slow learner.
yeah, me too. And well, I mean, but it's the way that we learn. And then it's the what is it? The teacher will present itself when the student is ready.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I learned so much stuff the hard way that
Oh,
have people tell me I can do it this way. Oh, yeah, yeah, I know what
let
I'm
me do it
doing.
the
I'm
hard. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
The
And
lesson
then
sticks when you do it the hard way.
yeah, it sure does. It sure does. But so where are people gonna find you? Where can they find you to work with you, to find out more about you? Look at what you do, how you are in the day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I do a lot of things. I do a podcast it's called Suicide Zen Forgiveness, and it's guests sharing their stories because I have learned that sharing your story lightens your burden. And if we can offer hope to even one person, then my life has been worthwhile. And that for me is incredibly important. During the day, I am a digital integration specialist. So I do websites, SEO, and social media foundations so that you can get found fast and first in search, because there are a lot of things people don't think about in the digital world. And I had 30 years to do nothing but lie in bed and muck about on the internet. Once the internet came, dial-up modems were my saving grace because it meant I couldn't just read books. I could actually do stuff. And I absolutely love what I do. I love the challenge. I love learning. I always have. And for me, it's just, I just love being alive and having a really good time every day.
until midnight.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
good. You wait until the end of the day. The day can't get any further
Oh,
into the
yeah. I
day
don't want to
before it's the
miss
next day.
anything.
Yeah, up till midnight and you're good, and you get
Yeah.
as much as you can.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, yeah. Thank you for having the conversation. I didn't know we were going to go there, and ended up with, it started with me asking a dumb question, and it went to where it went. So
There
thanks
are no
for,
dumb questions.
well, thank you. Thank you for going along with that then. And yeah, having that. So yeah, and then yeah, so thank you so much. And we'll get you back here maybe sometime in the winter when we'll both be inside anyway, probably a little bit.
Thank you so much. I love that idea.
Excellent. Yeah, me too. And I hope you have a great rest of your day for another 14 hours. So
All right. Well,
well,
make the most of your today every day.
thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye
You
for
bet.
now.
All right. That's Elaine Lindsay. Yeah. So if you're gonna ask someone if they're going out dancing all night, you might end up with a podcast uh episode. So there you go. Check her out, Elaine Lindsay. Check her out. I'll put the links and everything in the episode description. So thank you everyone for listening here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. And that is the show, man. Oh,
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.